أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وضرب الله مثلا للذين آمنوا امرأة فرعون إذ قالت رب ابن لي عندك بيتا في الجنة ونجني من فرعون وعمله ونجني من القوم الظالمين ومريم ابنة عمران التي أحصنت فرجها فنفخنا فيه من روحنا وصدقت بكلمات ربها وكتبه وكانت من القانتين صدق الله العظيم. In these ayahs that are recited, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving the example of a good iman, setting certain criteria for good iman and good belief. وَضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Allah is giving all of you the example of the people of iman. If someone was to think about what would be the most perfect example I should present to people when it comes to following the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and being a good Muslim. After Anbiya alayhi salatu wa salam, we may think it should be some of the Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim, great scholars. We may have different names in our minds according to our knowledge and studies. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah he says, Imra. He says, I'm giving you the example of who? Can anyone think that when presenting the example of a good and strong iman, you would be presenting an example of a woman? And not in a book of history. This is in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way He presents this example is very unique. ضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا. We know the whole Quran is from Allah. But Allah specifically says that Allah, which means telling me and you, so that it applies to our heart, that remember, your Allah is giving you the example of a good iman. And that is imra'ah, there is a woman. And who is that woman? We may think it should be the woman then, the wife of a prophet, or a woman that was raised in a house around the Anbiya alayhi salatu wa salam. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Imra'at Fir'aun, the wife of Fir'aun. What made her so great? Why her example is being used by Rabbul Alameen subhanahu wa ta'ala, which means Allah loved her so much. He loved her iman. He loved the value. He valued that iman that she had so much that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling all of us, your iman should be like that and that iman. Why? إِذْ قَالَتْ رَبِّ ابْنِ لِي عِنْدَكَ بَيْتًا فِي الْجَنَّةِ. Remember when she said, Oh my Lord, build a house for me in Jannah. Why did she make that dua? Without going into too much detail of the tafasir and the explanation of this ayah, we all know that if at that time anyone had the luxury of this world, was Fir'aun and his family. A person who was considered to be God, people used to worship him. Imagine if we have a group of people that just love some person and they all are serving this person, and whatever they earn and whatever they have, they come and give it to this person. How wealthy this person would be. And how much this person would have of this worldly life when everyone comes and gives him everything that he has. This is a person not only being loved, this is a person that is being worshipped. And the whole country worships Fir'aun. And you could imagine anything that was available in those days as part of the luxury of this life and comfort of this life to provide the comfort. Of course, it had to be there in that castle. There a time came when she got the message of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. She heard about the wonders of Rabbul Alameen subhanahu wa ta'ala. And she came to the point when she realized, my husband is wrong, and whatever Musa alayhi salatu wasalam was saying is true. Now, after that realization, the next step, we all realize it. We come to the point when we realize whatever Quran says is true. Whatever Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said is true. That's the final word. There is no doubt about it. Everything that Quran says and a hadith talk about regarding hereafter, Jannah, Jahannam, Khabar, everything, that's all true. But how do we deal with it? Normally, what we would say is, I know it's all true, but we are not living in Makkah and Medina. We are not living at the time of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We are in America. We are in the 14th century. We are in the year 2000 now, and subhanAllah, you hear so many of these excuses, and then some of us will say, it's the environment. The whole environment is like this. What can I do? This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is presenting the example. That look at environment, do you think it was worse the environment of Fir'aun and his castle in his house? Do you think any woman would be in a worse situation after having Iman than this Asya radiallahu anha who was in the house of Fir'aun? Which woman in the world, or which person generally in the world, would be in a worse situation in practicing the deen of Iman than that woman who embraced Islam, and it's time for her to decide whether she wants to go with the teachings of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam and obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or give up because of her situation and environment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us she chose to go against the environment for the pleasure of Rabbul Alameen subhanahu wa ta'ala. And she said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, I'm giving up the cattle of this world. I'm giving up the luxuries of this world. There was no woman in the world that will be in a higher position at that time than this woman, from the worldly point of view. There was no higher position than that one. She was ready and she offered to sacrifice all of that. إِذْ قَالَتْ رَبِّ ابْنِ لِي عِنْدَكَ بَيْتًا فِي الْجَنَّةِ. She said, Ya Allah, I'm giving up all of this, give me a place in Jannah. That's all I need, Ya Allah. I'm not asking for anything more in this dunya. I'm not asking for you to save me, or ابْنِ لِي بَيْتًا عِنْدَكَ بَيْتًا فِي الْجَنَّةِ. Build a house for me in Jannah, Ya Allah. وَنَجِّنِي مِنْ فِرْعَوْنَ وَعَمَلِهِ. And save me from Fir'aun. Who is Fir'aun? Her husband. Ya Allah, save me from Fir'aun and his actions. I don't want to live with this type of, in this type of place where all of this kufr and zulm is taking place. وَنَجِّنِي مِنْ فِرْعَوْنَ وَعَمَلِهِ وَنَجِّنِي مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. And save me from all of these wrongdoers. Look at the dua of this woman. What kind of iman must be needed to make that dua? That, Ya Allah, I'm ready to give up whatever I have to give up, as long as you are pleased and you give me a place in Jannah, Ya Allah. The reason I chose to mention this example in the light of the Quran al-Kareem, today, especially these days, I'm sure the news is spreading around of a person who, wallahu alam, said that he has killed his wife. And of course, not as a coincidence, well planned, when the news is coming up, they're started using the word honor killing. And gradually this word will become part of the dictionary. You will see. Honor killing. And what is that? When a Muslim kills his wife thinking that he's getting reward for killing his wife. And of course, a lot of our people are responding to that. When I look at these responses, sometimes, more than laughing at it, you really get upset about it. That do we really think that these reporters and the media is so ignorant that they don't know what the teachings of Islam are about this topic? For sure, that's not true. They know it. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَدْ بَرَتِ الْبَغْضَاءُ مِنْ أَفْوَاهِهِمْ. Hatred is being seen from their mouth. وَمَا تُخْفِي صُدُورُهُمْ أَكْبَرُ. And what they are concealing and hiding in their heart is even more than that. So it's not a matter of them knowing or not knowing. They know. And believe me, they know how we value our women. Even in this day and age, however we are, with the lowest level of iman that we may be at, but alhamdulillah, still, when they see our treatment to our mothers, there is no comparison to that in the world, even up to this day. They know this. The way they see how our wives and women and sisters are being honored in our home, they all realize that if they could do something like this for theirs, that will be the greatest honor for them, but they cannot. So it's not a matter of them knowing and educating them. Yes, there are people in the public who have no knowledge about anything in the world. Those people need to be educated. But generally people who are talking about it, who are writing about it, they have that knowledge. And I'm sure even after these type of months, they study the Quran to try to find these faults, but for sure, when they study, they always find the good things of the deen and and the teachings of deen about these topics. If we go into the details of the hadith, and there is no time for it, we all know how much respect Islam has given to women. We see people in their old age. A person maybe in his 60s, where he needs help, but when he sees his mother comes in front of him, we see how respectfully the person will stand in front of his mother, and is willing to serve his mother. Alhamdulillah, that is there. It's part of our deen, part of our iman, part of our teachings. Something that people without iman, they don't even have a clue about it. I'm just mentioning this. I just remember once, we have sessions over there in our town. Every Friday we have a few sessions. So one day I got late. It was about 11 o'clock, something like this. And my mother, with my brother, came to look for me. Because it's before 11 o'clock. So she came to the masjid, and I was just walking outside of the masjid where the program was. I was just walking out of this masjid, and she comes out of the car, she sees me. For me, everything was normal. I went and said salam and everything. She went back. People who came to the program, one of them, she's new Muslim, he approached me, he said, I have never seen such a big man. And according to them, this is Imam, this is Shia, this is this. And this is the first time he sees me in that type of situation. That's the thing, I have never seen such a big man being so scared of someone. Alhamdulillah, this is a respect that we all have, and this is not just one person. Everyone, I'm sure, this is the least. But here there is another very important point that we are missing. And that is, if it is true that someone has really killed his wife, and our people are trying to take that as, this is domestic violence. No. When you look at it from the Sharia point of view, it's even worse than that. I hope whatever the reports are, they are wrong. I hope they are wrong. Because according to the hadith, if you look at the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, try to find what are the most major sins in Islam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in some of the hadith, says three. Three sins are the most major sins in Islam. See, there are sins that are called kabair, major sins of Islam. And there are sins that are considered akbar al-kabair, worse than the major sins of Islam. What are those? Al-ishraku billah. Number one, associating partner with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we all know what type of crime that is. It's a crime that is unforgivable. There is no forgiveness for it if a person would die with shirk. Al-ishraku billah. Next to it is what? Uququl walidayn. Disobedience to parents. Disobedience to parents. And number three, قتل النفس التي حرم الله إلا بالحق. Killing an innocent person. And the punishment that is mentioned for it in Quran, that type of punishment is not mentioned for any other sin. For a mu'min, for a believer. وَمَنْ يَقْتُلْ مُؤْمِنًا مُتَعَمِّدًا فَجَزَاؤُهُ جَهَنَّمُ خَالِدًا فِيهَا. A person who would kill a mu'min intentionally, regardless who that mu'min is. A person who would kill a mu'min intentionally, فَجَزَاؤُهُ جَهَنَّمُ خَالِدًا فِيهَا. The punishment for that person is hellfire, wherein he would remain forever. There is no khulud fin nar, the punishment of remaining in Jahannam forever for any other sin for believers other than this that is mentioned in Quran. This is the only sin for which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, جَهَنَّمُ خَالِدًا فِيهَا. Will remain in Jahannam forever, will never be able to come out of it. This is the only sin for which this punishment is mentioned. Although then the Mufassirin and scholars say, that is if a person kills another mu'min because he was a mu'min, which means disliking iman. But still, if you look at the ayah of Quran, you can see the severe punishment for this. فَجَزَاؤُهُ جَهَنَّمُ خَالِدًا فِيهَا وَغَضِبَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَلَعَنَهُ. Allah is angry with this person and curses that person. What could be worse than this? So now when we start looking at it, domestic violence, and we try to say, it happens everywhere. For us as believers, our dua should be, we hope that everything is wrong, and really a mu'min never did anything like this. People are trying to put it on Islam, yes, whoever did it because of the teachings of Islam, and Islam teaches this. Please see, it's so clear in Quran. Would Islam teach something like this? Would anyone be able to justify any such action about which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَجَزَاؤُهُ جَهَنَّمُ خَالِدًا فِيهَا? God forbid, if it did happen, what is the cause behind it? I will tell you one thing. Regardless of what situation under which this thing may have taken place, the real cause behind it is anger. When people get out of control, when people don't know how to control themselves, this is when they end up doing things that they were not supposed to. And not only this, we all make that mistake on a smaller and a different level. That was a higher level. But we all make these types of mistakes because we don't control our emotions. It's something that we really need to look into. This person, the one who is said to have done this, I know the person. He was a Muslim in the masjid. Just a person we can say like any other person in the community. Subhanallah, no one knows what happened. But the main thing is getting out of control. When a person doesn't realize what he's doing. And anyone could end up, God forbid, in similar type of situation. That person did that. There are other people who get angry, and what they do is either they go to talaq, or they get to the physical abuse, or verbal abuse, and worse than all of this, something that we even see within the community. People getting upset and saying words billah against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and against the deen. Why Allah does this, why this happens to the ummah? these type of wars. This is all out of anger. We are getting out of our control. We don't know our limits. We need to know our limits. We need to know how to control our soul. And now, we see that people are going totally on the opposite direction. So many people are trying to come up to respond to Muslims. Oh, Islam doesn't say this. And now what's happening is, a lot of our Muslim sisters, they are coming up to defend Islam, but subhanAllah going to the other extreme now. What happened? They would come without hijab, in a dress that is totally unacceptable by Islam, to prove that, look, this is the freedom of Islam. So now they are presenting this as Islam. And Islam has no room for this either. We have to present the right deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People are requesting us at this time, in our town especially, that's the place where it's happen and that's where all the heat is. So people are coming to me like, please, if you are asked a question about hijab in Islam, so please don't say that yes, the woman has to wear, otherwise they will think, look, this is what, they are keeping really women, they are oppressing women. But this is not oppressing. This is their choice and they want to have the freedom of doing this. How come they can, the people who don't want to do it, they have the freedom, and the ones who want to do it, they don't have the freedom? Stand up and talk for the freedom of those who want to do it. Why are you stopping these people from following what they want to follow? They feel these are the teachings of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they want to follow it. Don't stop them. Let them have their freedom. At a time when people are talking about freedom, tell them we want this freedom also. Freedom is not only by coming out naked. Freedom is for people who want to come and let them cover. Freedom is when the countries are stopping our sisters from wearing hijab. We have to tell them, no, this is wrong. Let them have their freedom and cover if they want to cover. When our brothers want to have a beard and they want to have a certain type of dress, freedom is let them have it. This is their freedom. Why are we taking this freedom away from them? What right do we have to take away the freedom of the people away from stopping them from following their deen? And of course, as I said, the most important thing is we ourselves learn how to control ourselves. Control our nafs. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us, ghadab, anger, is one of the worst disease a person has. The worst disease a person has is anger. Through anger, the person ends up having arrogance, doesn't want to hear anyone, doesn't want to listen to anyone, does not want to understand anyone. This is anger, when we get out of control. And in most of the families, being in a position where people would come and talk to us, in most of the families, people are having this problem. That one of the two does not control themselves. And they end up, at least in a small fight, disagreement. And this is, of course, as much as it's ruined that life within our families, it's really ruining the lives of our children. Children are seeing husband and wife fighting. Father and mother are always arguing. No one is controlling himself. Mother gets upset, she leaves home and goes away. 2 days, mother is not home. Next day, father says, now I'm leaving. It's something that is ongoing within the community. Continuously, these problems are going on and they're increasing. The divorce rate within the Muslim families is getting very high. It's all because not following the instructions given by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Imagine the time when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is sitting in the group of Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in, and he says, خيركم, the best amongst you. خيركم, the best amongst you. A prophet of Allah is talking to the group of Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in, the highest ranking believers that ever came to the world. When in that type of group, if a person would say the best amongst you, we may think is the one who who is in tahajjud every night and doesn't miss a tahajjud a single day and recites one Quran every day and fasts every day of his life. But Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, look at the next word he says, خَيْرُكُمْ خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِهِ. The best amongst you are those who are best to their families. SubhanAllah. The best of you are those who are best to their families. And he did not end it there. Look at the next word. Next statement of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, وَأَنَا خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِي. Now he presents that as a challenge to everyone in the community, that I'm the best to my family. Go and ask my wife. أَنَا خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِي. Out of all of you, I'm the best to my family. My treatment to my family is such that there is nothing like it. No one treats his family the way I treat my family. Can anyone of us here really feel that way? That أَنَا خَيْرُكُمْ لِأَهْلِي. That I am the best to my family. This is what the quality of the mu'min is. خَيْرُكُمْ. If you want to be the best amongst the believers, amongst the virtuous people, people that are good, they are virtuous. Like Sahaba Ibrahim, amongst them to be the best, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, you have to be the best to your family. But, subhanallah, I don't know how to explain. We are getting so far from the knowledge of deen that as I'm saying this, it scares me that now we'll say, okay, the family wants this haram, that haram, so we'll do that also because, I'm trying to be good to my family. It's not by doing haram things, it's by bringing deen and then following the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and being the best. Having the best akhlaq, having the best treatment, and always taking care of the needs of the family in a way that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam once said to Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een that a person spends $1 dinar, $1 in the path of Allah. And another person spends another $1 in helping a needy person. And a third person spends $1 as his family. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, the highest reward any of these is getting is the one who spends the $1 on his family. It's all part of our deen. Where would we get these type of teachings? Beautiful teachings of our deen. And believe me, if we follow these teachings of deen, there will be no reason for us to worry about what others will say about our deen. It's only because we are not following the teachings of deen. That's the major problem. We cannot present our examples. We cannot tell them, come, look at our society and see how we are doing it, because this is what deen is all about. Because if we bring these teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, imagine Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran, when he talked about salah, divorce, in Surah Al-Baqarah, and if you have time, go back and look at those ayahs. There are detailed ayahs about salah. In those ayahs, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you come to final conclusion that there is no way for them to make it up, and they cannot live together anymore. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, now, at the time of salah, remember two things. Number one, make sure that you وَمَتِّعُوهُنْ عَلَى الْمُوسِعِ قَدَرُهُ عَلَى الْمُقْتِرِ قَدَرُهُ. Give them some gift at the time of finishing this marriage. Give them some gift. Don't send them back with curses. Don't start backbiting them. Don't start bringing the ties of the families. I'm not talking to her father, I'm not talking to her brother, this is her uncle, this is a person who invited them, so I'm not going to even invite him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَتِّعُهُنْ. Give them some gift. How much to get? $1, $2? عَلَى الْمُوسِعِ قَدَرُهُ وَعَلَى الْمُقْتِرِ قَدَرُهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if Allah bless you with wealth, then according to your situation, give. According to your situation. وَعَلَى الْمُقْتِرِ قَدَرُهُ. And a needy person should give according to his. But even a person is in need, should give some gift. عَلَى الْمُقْتِرِ قَدَرُهُ. And مَتَاعًا بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. This gift should be given in a very nice way. بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. This is first thing. At the time of salah, subhanAllah. The second thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا تَنْسَوُا الْفَضْلَ بَيْنَكُمْ. Don't forget kindness towards each other. Don't forget kindness towards each other. Don't look at faults. That's it. You're ending it. That's the end of everything. Now just don't forget being kind to each other because you live such a long time with each other. What beautiful teachings of our deen. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only gives people their eyes to see the teachings of deen and see the beauty of the deen and the beauty of the huquq that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned in the hadith, believe me, there will be no lifestyle better than the teachings of Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. May Allah give us tawfiq to follow His deen, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give all of us tawfiq to preach these beautiful teachings of deen and bring them into our daily life also. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله.